It's the season premiere of Raw tonight, and there could be a lot in store. It's also the first Raw after Crown Jewel, meaning it's the first episode that will build to Survivor Series 2021. While we've seen inter-brand matches between the WWE Draft and Crown Jewel, the crossover will happen again, but this time to build towards Survivor Series. There's going to be a lot at stake tonight, and here are a few possible surprises we could see on the new era of Raw. Number 5, will there be a surprise result in the Raw Tag Team title match? This week on Raw, there will be a tag team title rematch from Crown Jewel as RK Bro faces AJ Styles and Omos. The two teams have been feuding throughout the summer, and many assumed that Crown Jewel was the conclusion. Ideally, it should have been, but that doesn't seem to be the case. WWE booked an immediate rematch for some reason, and it may have bigger consequences. Meanwhile, the Street Profits officially make their return to Raw. Before the draft took effect, the Street Profits faced RK Bro in a non-title match on Raw. It ended without an actual finish, keeping the former champions strong and setting them up as future contenders. Although Raw has some tag teams, there haven't been too many who have been involved in the tag team title picture. The last 3 months of WWE programming have mainly been centered around AJ Styles and Omos, and that's what we've been seeing. This could go one of two ways: either RK Bro retain the Raw tag team titles, and the feud ends for good, or there's a shock title change where AJ Styles and Omos reclaim their thrones. Given that it's the season premiere of Raw, it wouldn't be surprising to see that kind of title change happen. However, it still feels a bit premature to do so, as RK Bro are only 2.5 months into their run with the gold. Since WWE wants the RK Bro storyline to extend, they should hold the titles for the rest of 2021 and give them a considerably long reign before dropping it. However, a surprise title change could still be in the works. Number 4, will Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair have a confrontation on Raw? Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair could begin the build to a Survivor Series match on Raw. Both women have been in the rumor mill following stories of a backstage argument between them post-SmackDown this past Friday. While we will get into it later in the video, one thing is clear: there is real-life tension between Lynch and Flair, while the latter seems to have been villainized backstage, and not just on screen. While many might think this could prompt WWE to put Sasha Banks in the top spot for the Raw vs SmackDown Women's Champion Survivor Series match, the opposite could be true as well. WWE loves using real-life tension and blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Rather than replacing Flair and having her drop the title to Banks on SmackDown, they could keep her as the champion and use the real-life tension to build towards an incredible bout at Survivor Series. Becky Lynch officially begins her second reign as Raw Women's Champion, and her next opponent could be her recent real-life rival Charlotte Flair, and not Bianca Belair on Raw or Sasha Banks from SmackDown. Number 3, where has Damian Priest been on Raw? Damian Priest was a notable absentee from Crown Jewel and on Raw recently. Given that he has been one of the most pushed stars of 2021 regardless of brand, it was a bit surprising that he was put aside. There haven't been any rumors recently of an injury, so there must be a reason why he wasn't a part of the Crown Jewel card. Priest is staying on Raw following the WWE Draft, as is the United States Championship that he holds. In the build to Survivor Series, the Raw vs SmackDown mid-card title match is likely to feature Damian Priest vs Nakamura. Happy Corbin picked up the win over Nakamura, so he could also be the Intercontinental Champion by Survivor Series. It will be surprising if WWE continues to keep Damian Priest away from Raw in the new era. The last time we saw him, he retained the US title against Jeff Hardy, and that eventually set up Austin Theory's re-debut on Raw. Number 2, the build to the Men and Women's Survivor Series match could hold some surprises on Raw. While the Raw vs SmackDown Champions matches at Survivor Series are important, they don't hold the same weight that the multi-person matches do. In recent years, we've seen some incredible multi-man matches between Raw and SmackDown, and more recently, multi-women matches as well. The 5 vs 5 matches are for bragging rights for the respective brand. The only part that has been less authentic over years is the supposed brand loyalty. Take this year for example. The WWE Draft only officially took effect a few days ago, with a lot of Raw stars moving to SmackDown and vice versa. Why would someone who has been on a show for less than a week have any sort of loyalty? Hopefully, that doesn't play into this year's storylines as much, but we can fully expect invasions on both shows. While Bianca Belair is more than likely to captain Team Raw, it will be interesting to see how it plays out on the men's side. One big surprise we could see is Edge and Seth Rollins both being on the men's team on Raw. While being on the same brand shouldn't make it a surprise, Edge being at Survivor Series could be. Also, the tension of their epic rivalry would be fantastic to watch. Number 1. Big E's next WWE title opponent on Raw. Big E ensured that Drew McIntyre left Raw without any gold when he defeated him at Crown Jewel to retain the WWE title. The fact that Big E was drafted to Raw as the second overall pick and first for Raw, and McIntyre to SmackDown made the result of the match somewhat obvious. That didn't stop the two men from having an incredible, physical title bout at Crown Jewel. McIntyre could do nothing but accept defeat and acknowledge Big E with respect while making his exit. Drew McIntyre is a SmackDown star now, and Big E is set to start the new era of Raw with the WWE title intact. who could be next for Big E? When talking about the Survivor Series perspective, Roman Reigns is the answer. However, WWE could have a TV feud on Raw for Big E, particularly to make him look strong ahead of his expected clash against Roman Reigns. To do that, WWE may take the lazy, but surprising option of Bobby Lashley. Lashley has been on a skid since losing the WWE title. He has suffered numerous pinfall defeats, although the three men to do it were Big E, Roman Reigns, and Goldberg, not mid-carders by any means. However, Bobby Lashley could once again be used to build Big E for Survivor Series 2021. Former WWE referee Mike Chioda recently discussed the time when Roman Reigns kicked Enzo Amore out of the locker room. In 2017, Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso reported that Amore invited a series of questionable guests into the locker room. The visitors took pictures and videos of WWE superstars backstage, landing Amore in trouble with his co-workers. Chioda, who worked for WWE at the time, confirmed on Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw that Roman Reigns was responsible for Amore's locker room removal. "I remember recently it happened to Enzo, and I remember John Cena made Enzo dress out there for a while. Roman Reigns did that, not John Cena. Roman Reigns is old school, so many generations of wrestling there. He made Enzo dress out in the back, because of some of the stupid stuff he was doing. I mean, when you disrespect the business, the boys in the locker room or anything else, you're gonna get heat, that's for sure." Enzo Amore once said during a concert that he punched a bully in the locker room, which is why Roman Reigns kicked him out. Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp reported in 2018 that multiple wrestlers confirmed the story, but they did not want to reveal who Amore had punched. A decade before Enzo Amore's incident with Roman Reigns, Chris Benoit told The Miz he could no longer change in the WWE locker room. The latter situation turned into a storyline, with John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL, playing the role of Benoit. JBL recalled that The Miz was thrown out of the locker room because he ate chicken over referee Scott Armstrong's bag. "I took credit for years, storyline-wise. I took the heat for it, but I had nothing to do with it," and Miz has said that since. He was eating some chicken over Scott Armstrong's bag, just not thinking, and Benoit threw him out of the dressing room, JBL said. WWE is reportedly in a tricky situation regarding Charlotte Flair over the backstage incident with Becky Lynch. Both women were involved in an awkward championship exchange segment on last week's SmackDown, getting into a backstage confrontation after the show went off the air. As per reports, Flair was escorted out of the venue by security personnel while garnering backstage heat due to her behavior. Dave Meltzer recently opened up about the tense situation surrounding Charlotte Flair. A WWE source told him the following: "It's a tricky situation, isn't it? Does WWE just hand her over to AEW?" said the source. According to the source, if WWE punishes Charlotte Flair over the incident, it would have to do the same for other wrestlers who are difficult backstage. They concluded that WWE has its hands full with the situation. The championship exchange segment featuring Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch saw Flair drop her Raw Women's title as Lynch was just about to grab it. Later in the segment, Lynch threw her SmackDown Women's title at Flair, who also dropped this belt. As per Porch's sources, Flair has been increasingly difficult to work with. Another WWE superstar told PW Torch that no female star wants to work with her in any capacity. Many fans have expressed their disappointment over how Charlotte Flair has been booked over the years. She has spent most of her main roster run in the main event scene. The Queen is currently a two-time NXT Women's Champion, 12-time Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion, former Divas Champion, and former Women's Tag Team Champion. Charlotte Flair broke Asuka's 914-day winning streak at WrestleMania 34. She won feuds against fan favorite Rhea Ripley in 2020 and 2021. Judging by the latest reports, Flair's peers also aren't too fond of her. What do you think of this situation? Will WWE discipline Charlotte Flair over what happened on Friday night?